Hi everyone, welcome. This is Wandsworth Autism Advisory Service, and we're just here to give you a few top tips on how to homeschool your child on the autism spectrum. So, the first thing to say is really establishing a routine for homeschool is really important in terms of just trying to keep the same rough timings when it comes to the bedtime routine, meal times, everything kept more or less the same is going to be really helpful. Lots of children with autism really struggle with changes to their routine. So the more stable you can make this across the days, the better. And hopefully you'll find that that reduces their anxiety levels and their stress, just to have that predictability of knowing what's coming next. Now, what that schedule looks like is obviously entirely up to you. You'll probably have some work being sent home from school that needs to be completed. You might even have some virtual live lessons. And then there might be other stuff that's more project-based work, or if you find your child flies through that and you need ideas of how to fill the time, we can talk a little bit about that later as well. But I find with older children or children at more an advanced stage of learning that it is helpful and useful to offer them some choices. So offer them the opportunity to sort of collaboratively create their daily schedule with you. I know I did this with my 10-year-old at the start of lockdown. We just had a discussion like, okay, so what do you want to learn about? Is there anything you want to? And she came out with some really surprising things. She wanted to learn another language. She wanted to ride her bike without stabilizers. We're a bit behind on that. And learn how to cook some things. And we sort of incorporated all of those into our afternoon activity. So we had sort of like the schoolwork that we had to get through certain things through the morning when she was a bit more focused, and then the afternoon was a bit more free to do those sort of project type learning through play, free play activities. So just design your schedule around what works for you and your family, and just incorporate lots of little breaks and things and variety through the schedule. Now, at school, your child probably has a visual timetable that looks something like this. So, got the little timings, the little pictures, and everything of the different lessons that they'll have, lunch in the middle, etc. Now, you can get these online. You can print them off and laminate them yourself, or you can send off and buy them, and they're delivered in the post. These ones here on the right have a sort of morning and evening type routine, and they're backed onto Velcro. So as you do each activity, so you have a wash, you take it off and you put it away in like a pocket or an envelope at the bottom to show that that activity has finished. And then go through them like that so that they can see what's coming next and what each one's. And that's a really nice, just sort of clear way of showing them the sort of schedule for the day. Now, you don't have to order them or spend money or anything. If your school's been really helpful, they might have sent home their visual timetable. If not, you can make one yourself by just drawing really simple pictures and perhaps using blue tack to stick it on. So yeah, whatever that looks like for you, make it visual so that they can check in with it and look for themselves, and developmentally and age appropriate. So it might be that it looks more like this, like the tick list from the slide before, that they tick off each activity after they've done it, or it might look a bit more like this with little pictures. Yeah, that's entirely up to you. But just important that they have that schedule set out for the day so they know what's coming. Now, what I would say is try to include some exercise every single day. If you, obviously, not everyone has a garden, perhaps outdoor space is limited, make the most of all those YouTube exercise tutorials. The Joe Wicks body coach, or Cosmic Kids yoga as well has been an absolute lifesaver in my house. They're about 20 minutes long, and I find that's really perfect to just have some relaxation and then help refocus them. So also, it's really good to incorporate some movement breaks throughout the day. So especially for older children, if they're having a lot of online learning, looking at screens for hours and hours on end, you really need to break that up, because I think even, myself as an adult, I find it hard to go through hours and hours of meetings through Microsoft Teams, and just yeah, your brain starts to go to mush a bit. It all gets a bit frazzled. So I think definitely chopping it up and inserting some little mini movement breaks is really helpful to just get them up, get them moving. And examples of that, they can be here. So a few star jumps, a few hops, run around, touch your toes, anything just silly little, maybe skips, some stretches, just get them up out of their chair, moving around, get those endorphins going, and then you might find that they're more able to focus on the next lesson coming. So just splice those in throughout the day. You can even do it in the middle of a lesson. If you sense that they're really losing attention and focus, then they're not attending to what's going on at all, they're really drifting off, then you can say, like, right, let's get up, do a quick movement break, 2 minutes, run to the front door, run back, stretch, 20 star jumps, and then back down again. It could improve things. So just something to bear in mind. And obviously, if you can go outdoors, excellent. Go for a walk, blow out the cobwebs. Yeah. Can't emphasize that enough, that exercise really, really important. Also really important is including some opportunities for social interaction into the schedule, so that it isn't just them staring at a screen all day and a lot of time on their own. Obviously, this is easier if you have some siblings in the house. You can use this as a really great opportunity to do some board games, some turn taking games, some really simple, snakes and ladders, counting, snap, buckaroo, or pop up pirate, those types of games that just promote my turn, your turn, my turn, your turn, or go around the circle, just so that they have those little pockets of time through the day where they do interact with you and whoever else is around in the house. And yeah, if the school is offering you virtual sessions, then by all means try and make the most of those, in terms of like checking in with their classmates and seeing a familiar face every day, like their teachers. That can really help to boost their mood as well, I think, just to know they're still out there, they haven't gone away. Hopefully they will be coming back. When we go back into school, things will return more to normal. So yeah, I think that can really, link in with their key people that they're used to seeing at school, can give them a real boost. And then yeah, so that's that. Another really important sort of starting place is designating a distraction-free workspace. So in terms of aiding their concentration, I think it's a really good idea to have a set place where they're expected to sit down and do the sort of more school-based tasks every day, that they know that's their work area. So if they have a desk in their room, great, or wherever it might be that you have to use the dining room table, just make sure everything's cleared away so that there's like minimal distractions. If your house is particularly noisy and there is a lot going on, a lot of noise around and about, you might want to consider the use of ear defenders, just for those periods of quiet where they have to really focus and concentrate for short amounts of time. And yeah, having the TV, the radio off, things like that. I think we do know, like, children with autism often struggle with attention and concentration. So anything we can do to block out that extra visual and auditory stimuli that might distract their attention is going to be really helpful and useful. So to make it as bare as possible, all the toys packed away, nothing to tempt them, and just, yeah, as distraction-free environment as possible. Okay. Now we talk about use of visuals an awful lot in sort of autism specific education and teaching. And this is really why I found this great visual online, about why we always use, bang on about using visuals. It's because there's so many benefits to using visuals. And one thing I found with homeschooling is I'm bored of the sound of my own voice. I'm bored of repeating the same instructions again and again. So to avoid that happening, for me to keep having to repeat things, it's useful to have a visual instead to redirect the child back to. So you can just maybe point at their visual schedule to show them what's coming next, rather than keep reminding them. And it just allows them that extra processing time as well. Can help prepare them for the change that's coming, the next lesson, the next activity, and increase their independence as well. Hopefully over time they can rely more on that visual than you giving them the instructions. And we know that they help reduce anxiety. So that's just a few things to bear in mind about why we always say try and include visual prompts or make it visual. So another thing is breaking down the learning into small, manageable chunks. Really, really important. So it might be that at school, your child is used to having something like a now and next board, or it might be called first then, where they just have a little card that shows them what they're working on now and then what's coming next. So this one, Ada, the example, this is now, next, then. So maybe she's a bit more advanced. She can hold 3 things in mind at the same time. But what these are really good for is refocusing the child. So it might be that now they're doing something that might be a non-preferred activity that's a bit more boring, a bit more difficult, a bit more taxing, like you're sort of writing or maths or something like that, that they don't enjoy much. But it might be helpful for them to know that next, what's coming is a much more motivating, enjoyable activity for them, like Legos, free play, computer time. That might be enough for them to hold that in mind, to just push on and finish and motivate them to complete the task. Or you could break it down like this even more, so within the same lesson. So this might be sort of an English literacy type lesson. Number 1, reading, cross it off when it's done. Number 2, writing, cross it off when it's finished. Number 3, drawing. So you've got that easy boom, 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 1, 2, 3. It just avoids that, oh, what are we doing after this, Mum? What's coming? You know, it's all there laid out for them to see really easily. So now next boards is a really, really useful tool to use. And also the use of timers as well. So it depends on the child. Some children can find these more anxiety provoking. So obviously, you know your child best. You can test out what works with them. But for a lot of children, particularly on the autism spectrum, it's helpful for them to actually physically see the time going down, so that they have an understanding of, when you're saying we're going to do this for 10 minutes, that can be quite abstract to them. What does 10 minutes actually look like? How long is 10 minutes in their mind? So you can buy these sand timers online, these egg timers, in different time intervals. So this one's 5 minutes. You can get ones all the way down to, I think, 30 seconds or a minute, right up to sort of 20 or 30 minutes. So depending on their attention span, gradually increasing that, so that you can literally turn the timer and say, we're sitting down doing our work for 10 minutes. And when the sand is all finished and all at the bottom, that's when we're going to stop. You can have TV time. Or if you don't have any of those sand timers, you can use a stop clock, or just your good old-fashioned timer on your phone to count down or up. So set the timer at 20 minutes, 10 minutes, however long you think is realistic for them to focus. And then when the alarm goes off, finish and just a really clear way of showing them the expectation of how long they are expected to keep at it. So yeah, motivation, I think, is a really big issue. What can we do when children don't seem that motivated? Well, making activities as practical as possible, learning through play, particularly in the early years, is so, so important. So, you know, your actual physical sitting down doing work with a pencil and pen, that might be very minimal. And that's absolutely fine and that's okay, because there's so many things in the home to try and involve your child in and incorporate learning into. Everyday chores, even when you're just laying the table for lunch, maybe helping them, count the knives and forks, the plates as they put them out, ask them questions around that. There's so much you can do in the kitchen in terms of cooking activities, when you're weighing the ingredients and all of that. That's all mathematical, that's all educational. So yeah, I think just knowing your child and what's going to motivate them. So usually, children with autism have sort of very intense interests and passions, trying to involve those special interests in their schoolwork. So it might be that the schoolwork sent home to you is, quite dry. It's a counting activity. They don't want to do it, but it might be that you can cajole them and persuade them to do it by reframing it as, if their special interest is Thomas, for example, making it about counting trains or things like that, just so that they are doing the task, counting, but you're involving what they really love in it. So it's kind of disguising the work a little bit. And then also offering rewards is a big one, so that they, dangling the carrot, offering them something they really love and enjoy doing in exchange for doing what you want them to do first. So that could be screen time, that could be, anything that you think is going to motivate them, then by all means use it. I think it's also really important to celebrate their successes and reward any effort, as much as possible. So it could be that you use a working towards board like this, where they collect the tokens, and then, every time you catch them doing something good, um, they've really concentrated and paid attention for a few minutes solid, or you can see that they're trying really hard. Pop one of these stars up, a token, a sticker, whatever you're using, and when they get 3 or 5 or 10, however long that you think their attention span is, then reward them with that preferred thing. If they're a bit older, more advanced, you could do a sort of marbles in the jar type thing and build up to a big special treat. So, when the jar's full, we'll go on a special outing to the park with your scooter or that kind of thing. So, or do a movie night with popcorn or whatever you think is going to motivate them. And yeah, I think it's really important to try and end every day on a positive note. So not every activity is going to go well. Sometimes things are going to completely tank and bomb, and that is totally normal and that is totally okay. It's just about sort of parking that and moving on. Okay, that didn't work. We'll try it a bit differently tomorrow. Let's try something different next. And just having that kind of mentality. So at the end of the day, with my kids, I like to do a little sort of check-in. What was the peak and the pit of your day? So the best, the highlight and the low light, the best bit and the worst bit. And then that gives me a hint of like, okay, I'll do more of that. I'll try and do that in a different way, or less of that tomorrow. And just, yeah, make sure you try and keep their spirits up. Tell them well done, that, you can see they're trying, and that's all you can really ask. So celebrating success. And then, yeah, keeping in touch with your child's school. So feeding back what's worked well and what hasn't to them as well is also really important. So you should have a named point of contact. If your child has a one-to-one learning support assistant, their teaching assistant, class teacher, the Senko, there should be somebody on hand for you to be able to email or speak to on the phone about what has been working and what hasn't. So, it could be that you feel bombarded that too much work is being sent home and it's not realistic to complete. Feed that back, absolutely tell them. If the work being sent home is not the right pitched at the right level for them, it's too easy, they're flying through it, or it's too difficult and they're really, really struggling. That's important for the school to know. All children experience, spurts in their development and then regression sometimes as well. So I think, particularly over holidays and stuff like that, you might think they've gone backwards in some areas, and what was expected of them before isn't realistic, and you have to slowly build that up again. That's okay. And again, problems around IT. I think some assumptions have been made in this pandemic about the resources that people have access to at home. It might be that you don't have multiple devices, laptops, iPads, especially if you've got other siblings at home as well that are expected to log on at certain times and do virtual learning. I think it's really important to feed that back to your school Senko, because there is funding available through the DFE to provide laptops and sort of special dongles with extra internet roaming hours and everything. If that's an issue for you, please let your school Senko know, and hopefully they'll be able to help. And finally, I guess, just be kind to yourself. These are really unprecedented times. It's a cliche now. We've been saying it again and again, but just be realistic. A little bit every day is more than enough. As long as you're checking in with them, a little bit of reading to them or with them, a little bit of maths type activities, and a little bit of, reading and writing. I think, anything above that is a bonus. We're all juggling with competing demands, working from home. This isn't a normal situation. So just getting through the day is good enough. I think, we all lose our patience sometimes. And again, just try to be kind to yourself, prioritize that self-care. If at all possible, when the kids are in bed in the evenings, just try and take some time to yourself away, nice bubble bath, watch some trashy TV, whatever is going to help relax you and rejuvenate you. Yoga has been brilliant for me. It's been an absolute lifesaver. So just, really taking that time out to know, okay, you've been with the kids all day and you're exhausted. So you do need to, and everyone else needs to understand that too, that you need some time to yourself. There is help and support out there for you to reach out to. So, for example, at Wandsworth Autism Advisory Service, we do offer telephone consultations, and all you have to do is email autismadvisory@wandsworth.gov.uk to request that. One of our team will call you, talk through your homeschooling difficulties and what you think's not going well, how we might improve that, what strategies we could try to put in place. We also have a number of resources available on our YouTube channel. We have a few videos of these different strategies I've talked about today. So down there we've got the thumbnails. So Shona's doing a thing about visual timetables. I'd recommend that you watch that. Lorraine's talking about use of timers, and we've got Barbara there talking about now and next boards. So all of those stuff that we've sort of raced through today, there's more detail where they explain more how they can actually be used. And we've also got some recorded webinars and workshops on some other topics like challenging behaviour that can be really useful to sort of dip into during lockdown. If you have the time to watch those and listen to those, I'd recommend it. And we also have some resource packs available to download from our page on the local offer also. So there's one called Useful Links to Help You Cope at Home, and that's just sort of a bank of resources, really, different websites and things for different age groups. It's broken up into age, so there's the younger ones, older ones, post 16 a little bit as well, and then one suitable for all ages. And there's an early years parent pack available with some really nice resources that you can make, things like sensory bottles and Play-Doh and all that stuff, just to give you some extra ideas if you're feeling really stuck, and your kids are bored and you just don't know what else to do with them. There's some really nice ideas in there as well. Okay, so those are available to download from our website, and I can also email you out the links. Thank you.